So welcome to Thrive, the live chat series. My name is Annu Gaidhu. I'm a yoga and Ayurvedic practitioner here on behalf of Greenish to help host this new live chat series with guest experts who will be sharing with us to give back a valuable resource to the community during this time. So I'm joining you guys here today with our guest, Michelle from Eat Well with Michelle. Thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on today. I'm super excited to be chatting with you because Michelle is actually a holistic and functional nutritionist. And so, Michelle, welcome.
Welcome, or thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here as well.
Likewise, I'm super excited to be speaking to somebody about nutrition, especially now because, you know, as we're seeing everybody kind of adjust to this new normal during this phase, it's kind of like there's more time spent on looking at what you're eating throughout the day. What are you going to be doing? And you're a little bit more mindful of these things. And so I just wanted to know a little bit about yourself first. And as a nutritionist, you know, where did you begin and how did you even become interested in learning about nutrition?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Michelle, as you know, and I live here in Oakville, just outside of Toronto, and I practice my holistic nutrition here. I practice online, and then I also practice in a clinic downtown Oakville, so I can see patients in person as well that are in the community, which I love. I moved here from BC about 6 years ago, and that's when I started my journey into nutrition is when I moved here. I was able to go to IHN. I have 2 children, 2 cats, and a pup named Louie.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, we just got him last summer.
What kind of pup?
He's a Frenchie. You may hear him snore, so if you guys hear some noises throughout this, it's not me. It's him. He's over by the door snoring here. And I got into nutrition just with my own health concerns, just because I was going through things myself that we can get into a little bit if you want, that I was just tired of just not feeling my best and going to the doctor and then being, oh, everything's okay. And, you know, I was Googling to no end. And through my Google searches is how I found IHN, the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, actually. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to jump in. I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to learn how to take my health into my own hands and go back to school. And a second career came out of it. I wasn't even thinking of it to be a career, but after learning, I was like, you know, I have to share this information. Like, people need to know what I learned. So yeah, that's how it all came about.
That's a beautiful journey because, you know, something that I noticed that you said, and I also saw on your website, was that we can heal ourselves through foods that we eat. And I loved how you said that, you know, you had to take your health into your own hands at one point, and that's when you really started to become committed to understanding nutrition. And so I was hoping if you can tell me a little bit more about that in terms of what was the experience that led you to understand that.
Well, I, for the longest time, thought that I ate well. I mean, we all like, oh yeah, I eat good, I eat vegetables, you know, I eat good, right? That's what I thought for so long, but I was still maybe going for fast food once a week, maybe picking the chicken over the hamburger, thinking like, oh yeah, spicy chicken, that's a better option. Or instead of having fries, having a salad. But I was dealing with just so many issues. Like I was dealing with anxiety, depression, I was having hormonal acne. My energy was just not where it should be. I was tired after I ate. My digestion was off. It was a little of everything. And these are the things you go to the doctor for, right? And they're like, here, you can try this or you can try that. And I just knew that I didn't want to be on medication. For allergies, I was having bad allergies. That's another thing. And I was on antihistamines all the time. And I started through these Google searches finding out that, you know, this is not the way it should be. But I didn't know where to start. So that's when I learned more, started looking into nutrition and started kind of experimenting myself before going back to school. And when I was in school is when I really learned how to take what I was learning about nutrition, applying it, and realize that, you know what, these things that we feel that are, maybe we think, yeah, we know we're not supposed to feel this way, but it's almost become normal to us. We can actually feel differences by the times we're eating or how we're eating or what we're eating. It makes a huge difference what we can do with food. And we can go into that too if you want.
For sure, yeah. Before we head in, I wanted to ask just a little bit to set some context. in terms of, when you were feeling, just in terms of your physical and mental health, there was allergies that you were dealing with as well as other issues. And so was that something throughout your whole life you had experienced, or was it periodically, or was it at a point where you were just kind of fed up with everything?
Yeah, so I had actually, I felt like I had like an all right childhood, right? But now that I look back, I see that there are things that built up to this. I mean, I had a good childhood as far as childhood goes, right? But health-wise. But I look back and I see there's things that definitely, like a little bit maybe TMI, like I used to wet the bed, and that's can be to do for like an allergy, food allergies.
Okay.
I did have eczema, and I just thought because my mom had eczema, it was normal for me to have eczema. And then I developed asthma, and then I had so it all just kind of was like a stepping stone where it progressed, where it wasn't that I was feeling horrible, it just wasn't 100%. And it's, all of these things I feel could have been changed with our diet. And it's not that our parents didn't do well for us. It's not that we didn't eat well. It's just that they didn't know what I know, right? And they do the best for what they can for us. But small changes can definitely make a big impact on our health. And I definitely can see that it wasn't just all of a sudden I felt like this. It was a progression to all of this. And then it was just kind of like, enough. I have to do something.
Absolutely. I can resonate with that because something you said earlier, based on what the doctors were telling me at that point, probably was just a one prescriptive way of looking at how they can help to ease the problem or the issue that you're with, almost like a Band-Aid.
Cover the symptoms.
Yeah. And so I'm just curious to see how, with knowing the knowledge that you know now, why is paying attention to nutrition so important?
Well, everyone's like, oh, a calorie is a calorie, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you put in your body as long as we're eating, because we need energy. We eat for energy. That's true. Food is energy. But at the same time, food is built up of not only macronutrients, but also micronutrients, right? Mm-hmm. So there's such thing as empty calories, where we can fill ourselves with processed foods, fast food, just food that we know that is termed not too good for us, or we can fill ourselves with the rainbow of foods and healthy proteins and healthy fats. And those are the foods that actually build our cells and build us, right? Because we are made of cells. So when we're giving ourselves what they need to thrive, we are going to thrive. We're going to feel better. We're just going to, it's amazing how much of a difference you will feel when you are eating these foods that are meant to fuel you properly. And a really easy way to look at it is just like when you're eating something, like if you're going to eat that burger and fries, an hour later, you're either going to feel, kind of sluggish or not too good, depending on where you are, right? Or so you can take your plate and look at it and think of it as, how am I going to feel after I eat this? Is this going to energize me? Is this going to make me feel amazing? Or is this just going to fill me up and then I'm just not going to feel my best, right?
Absolutely.
So it's just a simple way to kind of get an idea of what it is that we should be putting into ourselves, is if we're listening to how we feel by what we eat.
So what were some of the changes that you were able to implement as you started to learn more about nutrition? And
that's a big one. Because as I said, I thought that I was already eating really well, right? For me, a lot of it was, and it's like this for a lot of people, is blood sugar issues.
Oh, wow.
So because blood sugar is not necessarily just diabetes. Everyone thinks, oh, blood sugar, I don't have diabetes, right? But if we're not eating to balance our blood sugar, everything is off. Like, you're going to feel like crap. Your hormones are going to be off. You're not going to be able to get through the day feeling that you can make it. You're going to need snacks. You're not going to have any energy. Your sleep is going to be poor. Everything is off. And then it affects because it's affecting like your hormones and everything else. That was leading into like my skin issues, right? Mm-hmm. Also with the adult acne, with the hormones, because blood sugar contributes to hormonal imbalances, energy, just everything. So for me, just learning how to build my plate properly using the whole foods that I knew that were good for me was what made a huge difference for me and how I felt. And slowly it just kind of cascades from there. You do more. I mean, there's lots of other things depending on where you're at, but just doing that is like, I find even for my clients, makes the biggest difference in how they feel. And the amazing thing about it is you will feel that change from like that first meal that you do that. So
absolutely. Yeah. You know, I can agree with that fact. When I had cut out meat it'll be 9 years now, and no pun intended, but I just cut it out cold turkey, you know, one day, and I just was able to keep up with it. But I just felt on an energetic level so much more lighter and just clarity and things that I wasn't able to possibly feel at that time. And I myself was struggling with anxiety and different just coping mechanisms, trying to understand, and wow, what a difference food can truly make. Yeah. I started with just a small routine in the morning, which is called a hot water routine. And so you put some herbs inside and you know, you put it into your thermos and have it inside the whole day, which you're just drinking this warm water, which is helping with the digestive system and to support immunity. And so that leads me to my next question. I wanted to ask you that for immunity, we've been hearing a lot about, especially during the pandemic and these times, boosting our immune systems. And so what would be some recommendations that you would have to people who are concerned possibly with the second wave coming up with this pandemic, and what they can do right now?
Like supplemental wise, or
even just type of lifestyle recommendations, for example?
I can touch on both. I definitely think that everyone right now should be taking a couple different supplements just to help, like you said, to support the immune system. One of those is zinc. Zinc is one that a lot of us are very deficient in. And with this virus, they're saying that people who do get it are having symptoms of lack of sense of taste and smell. And that's actually a zinc deficiency symptom, right? Yeah. So it would make sense because our immune systems are using all of this zinc to help keep us healthy. So we're becoming even more depleted in zinc. And then when we do have the virus and we're having the symptom, it's just our body using up our zinc stores and it's coming out as this symptom. So definitely zinc is an important one for everyone to be taking. And another one that I love is vitamin D, but vitamin D is kind of one where I don't want to be like, hey, everybody rush out and take it. Most of us are deficient, but it is better to have a blood test and work with a practitioner to know the right amount to take, because it is fat soluble. It works more like a hormone. So it's easy to take too much. That being said, again, we are all deficient. So one way that I do like for people to get it in without knowing where they're at is a food source, which is cod liver oil. And that contains vitamin D in it, and also contains omega-3s, which are amazing for inflammation, which is amazing for our immune system, and also vitamin A as well, which is, again, needed for a healthy, strong immune system. And then vitamin C, of course, because vitamin C we just need for our immune system. We can eat vitamin C rich foods. I suggest taking a supplement and take it in increments throughout the day, because we actually use up what we need in our body within 4 hours, and then we get rid of it. Yeah, so you want to take it throughout the day in doses, like 3 times a day, I guess you can say. And the other thing about vitamin C is right now, all of us are stressed, like so much stress going on around us, whether it's ourselves or if we're just feeling it because of the energy around us.
Collectively.
And our adrenals use vitamin C. And when we're stressed and feeling stressed, they use even more vitamin C. So we want to nourish them with the vitamin C. And then also it helps with our immune system too. So those 3 for sure, I think are pretty good ones that everyone can take without having to worry about taking too much, or, you know, without seeing a practitioner. And it's just a good basis for everyone.
I always, I love what you said, because it just reminded me of, you know, the easiest recommendation I always share with people is time in nature. You know, just spend time in nature, spend time outside, you know, underneath the sun, just feel some sun if you're indoors the whole day. And especially now, you know, I just was able to recognize what a difference it makes on a mental and physical level when you're able to just kind of reset and give your body those elements that it's so deeply needing. And so that in turn, just knowing that I'm nourishing myself with that much love has also helped me feel on a mental level just so much better about myself and more enthusiastic just throughout the day. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about gut health because that also would lessen my anxiety as well. And so I noticed that anxiety response, which is usually held in the gut, I was also able to take care of that issue as well. And so I wanted to just know a little bit more about gut health and what does it mean to have a healthy gut?
Well, that I would look more just because we're learning so much, right, still about the gut.
Yeah.
And to say that, oh, my gut's healthy. I mean, I think it's an ongoing process for all of us all the time in supporting our gut. So I think really we should just look at symptoms and what we're dealing with. And if we're having like even all these things that I spoke about before with my allergies and acne and like hormonal imbalance, like that all leads back to the gut, right? But some cues that we have our gut is strong and is like our immune system isn't strong, right? Because they're tied. About 70% of the immune system's in the gut.
Yeah.
So if we're right,
that I know. Yes.
If we're healthy, then it's a good sign that our gut's in a good place. But there could still be other things going on. A big one that I talk with my clients is bowel movements. How are those bowel movements? Because that will tell you so much. Like when you're eating, are you getting bloated? Are you getting gassy? Like little things like that. So I wouldn't want to say what is a healthy gut because it could look different for so many people. I would like to say, what are the symptoms that you're experiencing, and then work on those. And then once we relieve those by getting to the root cause of them, which is generally the gut, then we know that we're healing the gut, right? But,
that makes a lot of sense because it's kind of subjective, I guess you can say. So my question then would be like, what can we say to someone who's listening of a place where they can begin to see possibly what isn't a healthy gut?
Well, that would be those symptoms. So any symptoms that you're experiencing that even if you feel, like I said, like so many of us, we just carry on and we think like, oh,
yeah,
I've always had gas. I've always been bloated.
That's what I mean.
Normal,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you're experiencing those, then no, you want to work with someone who can help you, because those are definitely like your body saying to you, hey, something's happening here. We need to work on this. And it could be for many different reasons, right? But getting to the root of that so that you can heal it, because we don't want to be walking around bloated or gassy. If you're not having a bowel movement every day without the help of coffee, like that's a big one. A lot of people, oh yeah, I go every day, but
guilty of that. Yeah.
Right? So and that's the other thing, like we want to make sure we're eliminating properly. So all of those symptoms really tie in to help you know, hey, is your gut functioning okay? And don't get it like, oh, I was gassy today, but normally it doesn't mean that, you know, we all get gassy. So
yeah.
It's really listening to your body and listening to those symptoms and realizing that those are not what we want to be experiencing daily.
I loved how you talked about, you know, just proper elimination, because I myself am somebody who's not really cognizant of that, nor did I ever make it an active thing to be aware about, you know, until I started to have digestive issues. And so that's where my awareness and my like conscious awareness went into more so of seeing how often I was eliminating and like how the elimination went in bowel movements. So I think with that question, would you say that that's a good place for people? What would be healthy bowel movements? Let's start there.
A healthy bowel movement. Okay, yeah. We always, whenever I discuss this with my clients, it's like, all right, let's talk about the poop.
Yeah, right.
And it's so funny because they're always like, oh, and it'll be like you said, like, you know, a lot of people, they don't like, I don't know what it looks like. You know, I just go. I don't, you know, and then after you have this conversation, they're always looking, and then they'll like, as they're moving towards a healthy bowel movement, which should be, there's something called the Bristol stool chart. So that's a good one for someone to look at. And I believe it's number 5 and 6. I'd have to, which is ideal, which is just basically a nice formed nice shade of brown, snake bowel movement.
Is it a reference, color-coded reference chart that we're talking about?
It goes more from like the shape or what it looks like.
Understood.
Like you don't want little pellets. You don't want clots, right? You want like a nice formed bowel, like your colon. Your colon is shaped. Your bowel movement should be shaped. So, and you want a decent amount. Like sometimes people, when they start introducing more fiber into the diet through vegetables and whatnot, and they're like, "Wow, where did that all come from?" And it's like, that's good, right? So.
Yeah, that's it's funny because that is such a starting point, I feel, because some of these issues as well, like bloating, let's say, perhaps, or you could even talk about belching or burping, anything of that. I also find sometimes, even culturally, we're not so cognizant of that reaction and where it's coming from as a result of possibly the way that our digestion is processing the food that we ate. And so something that I wanted to ask you was, you mentioned having like a full plate. That was something also that you were aware of when you started your journey with nutrition, that having like a full plate with all of, is it 6 of the food?
And it's not necessarily like your plate must be full, right? We all eat different amounts. It's basically the easiest way that I do it with my clients is just making sure that they have like a source of protein, like a good source. And that can be whether you're a vegan or if you do eat animal meats, or just making sure you have that protein source, right? And then basically filling, and that should be maybe about like the size of your palm, I guess, but filling half of your plate.
Yeah.
Half of your plate with fibrous vegetables, right? So you want all those leafy greens, all of like the broccolis, the cruciferous veggies, the cauliflowers, and I mean, mixing it up, like the more variety, the better. I always say that we need about 25 different types of plant sources in our diet weekly, and people will be like, "Whoa, that's so many!" But you know what? You can add that up in no time at all. You could have mostly of that done in a day almost. So depending on if you're just trying to add more in, and that's the best way to think about just what can I add in, what can I add in. So so you have your protein, you have your fiber, and then you want to have your healthy fat. So, and making sure that you have a good couple tablespoons, even just adding a nice one that I like for my clients is just having like a good extra virgin olive oil on their greens, because that's going to help them to, and you can put a little apple cider vinegar or lemon with it, of course, make like a homemade dressing, but it helps you to absorb the fat.
I'm getting like hungry as you're saying that.
I'm like, I haven't had much yet. But yeah, it helps you to absorb the fat-soluble nutrients, and it also helps you to get that healthy fat in, which also satiates you. And then yes, carbs, like the rice, potatoes, sweet potato, all of those, like your starchy carbs. But have that again as like more of your smaller portion on your plate. So it basically you want fat, fiber, and protein with every meal, because that's how you eat for balancing blood sugar. Yeah. And that's how you're going to feel your best. And then you're not going to be hungry an hour later. You're going to have all the energy. You're going to get through your day. You're going to sleep amazing. Your hormones will start to balance out.
Right. I just love that.
More involved, but yeah, just using that, it makes a big difference in someone's day. It really does.
For sure, Michelle. Like, you said it in the beginning that you really took your health into your own hands and looking at how with food we can heal ourselves. And I wanted to ask you, recently you did an Instagram post about self-love and weight loss. And so in your opinion, how are you relating the two, or how are they related? And what was your thoughts behind that?
So that's such a tricky, like a touchy, I guess, kind of subject, right? Because the self-love movement, which which is so important. Self-love is obviously so important. But I do get a lot of clients, mostly women who they come to see me because they want to lose weight. And with the self-love movement, they almost feel bad because they want to lose weight, because they're thinking, it's not that they're not happy with who they are right now, it's just they feel like they could maybe have change, right? Mm-hmm. So with that, I just wanted women and men to know that just because you want to change your body composition doesn't mean that you don't fully love yourself as is right now. And the thing is, when they come to see me for weight loss, it's generally a side effect, I guess, if you can say, of other things going on. So really, I feel self-love and weight loss can go hand in hand, maybe through the idea of that when you're working towards weight loss, you're working towards your health. And I'm not saying that if you're overweight, I'm using quotations because what is overweight? Like that's,
Yeah.
And just because you're skinny doesn't mean you're healthy, or if you're overweight doesn't mean you're unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
But just depending, how you feel. So if you feel like you need to make changes and weight loss is something that you feel that you want to do to better your health, or whatever the reason may be, it doesn't matter. As long as you're not looking for weight loss as it's going to change my world, then that's a different story, right? But if you're working at it as something that's bettering your health, then to me, I feel like that is self-love. Like really looking at what is going on with yourself and making the changes to just better yourself in that sense, to become a healthier you, to become the best you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a tricky, and I feel it's hard for me to explain as well, but I just feel, because I've seen, I guess, women come in and they read this about self-love and they feel bad because they want to lose the weight, because they're like, I do love myself. And these are confident, strong women. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, I know you do. And it's okay. Like, it's okay to want change. Yeah.
That's, it's so beautiful how you connected the two, because I myself dealt with those struggles on both ends of the spectrum. There was a point
it can go that way as well. So
it is, yeah. And I find that now being on the receiving end of the opposite spectrum, whereas before I wanted to lose weight, but now I'm on this journey of trying to gain weight and keep it on.
It goes both ways, right?
Yeah. And it's like I have always kept the same goal and intention in mind. And I think that's kind of speaking to what I felt when reading what you had written, which is being intentional about your actions and
know your why, like really know your why, because weight loss is not going to it's not going to be what makes you happy, right? If you're looking at it like, oh, if I can lose those 20 pounds and I just know my life will change, then there's deeper work, right? There's deeper work to be done. But I do want women out there who do feel good about themselves and do know they love themselves and they are confident and they're strong women, to know it's okay to feel like you want to lose some weight. It's okay, because the self-love movement is amazing, but sometimes on social media, I feel like it can kind of be, I don't really know the word I'm looking for, but it almost can make you feel a certain way, right?
Absolutely.
Read these messages, so.
Yeah, that's so important. And, it's beautiful wisdom that you're sharing, because it really is honoring the self and honoring your own beauty and your own awareness, and who you are. So I feel like this past year up until now has just been full of life lessons and things that I'm learning, And I wanted to ask you, I'm curious to know, what's a notable lesson that the pandemic has taught you, or something that you became aware of that's, in your mind right now that you can recall?
Slow down.
I know, right? I'm like, where do you want me to begin with the list? I'm like,
that's definitely the big one for me. It was kind of a force to slow down. Without question, we all had to slow down. And I will be the first to admit that I am very grateful for the situation we're in, because I was still able to work. My husband was still able to work. And I know so many lost a lot. So maybe they didn't have that opportunity to look at it through the eyes that I'm looking at it through. So I just want to say that, because I do get that. And I do get that I'm privileged in that way. I understand that. But for myself, if I'm just looking for myself, and the lesson that I've learned myself, it's definitely to slow down, because this forced me to slow down. And I've been so go for so long. My adrenals were thanking me finally, because I finally slowed down, and I've kind of found this new balance, which I'm really loving. So I'm thankful for all of this, for the slowdown. But I mean, there's so much that it's crazy. It's a crazy time, right?
It really is, but I wanted to just say thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and letting us know a little bit more about nutrition and how we can help ourselves during this time. I'm sure people are going to have questions afterwards, and so I wanted to ask where they can find you online and what services you offer.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at find_wellness. And then I also am online at eatwellwithmichelle.ca. Instagram is the best place to get a hold of me if you want. I'm always checking out my DMs. I love when people DM me and ask questions. So feel free to shoot me a DM or through you guys. And yeah, I'd love to answer any questions anyone has. And yeah, the services I offer is I work right now with clients one-on-one, and I do, I haven't niched down yet, really. So everyone's like, you got to get your niche, but I haven't niched down because I'm just finding I'm really enjoying working with a variety of different clients on different levels. I think just because I've dealt with so many things myself, but I do love working with women. Don't worry, men, I like working with women, but I just feel like just being able to help women and just, that's why I love what I do, because it's just like having them like tell me they're feeling better, they're seeing these changes. And like I said, so many come for weight loss, but it's all these small wins that they notice and these small changes that have made the biggest difference for them, that it makes me love this even more. Like that's what keeps me going. It's just, I love it. I love being able to help women feel better. And men.
And men.